You're listening to KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine.
The opinions and views expressed in this program do not reflect those of KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this talk show or other talk shows broadcasting on KUCI, log on to our website at kuci.org or check out the latest program guide.
This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at the Pasadena Playhouse for the IMA Theater Company's presentation of American Hero.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
James Eckhouse, director of American Hero.
So, question: why did you decide to do this piece anyway?
Well, it felt incredibly relevant on so many levels. Mostly because right now it seems to me that we are living in a world that is becoming increasingly corporate, where it's almost like we're not countries anymore, but we're loyal to the corporation, and for better or for worse. And one of the many themes that are in this play, I think, are about the corporation against or versus, or I would say the individual worker trying to make their way, make a life, and have significance, and be artists in a way, recognize themselves in the face of corporate culture, and it's very hard, And the play is so beautiful to me. It's like this onion layer. I think I read it once, and I was like, oh, it's about this, and then you read it again and start rehearsals, and you go, oh no, actually it's more about this, and then there's a love story, and the idea of religion is in there if you think about it, and there's many layers to this beautiful play. So I was delighted to be able to direct this for IIMA.
Yeah, actually, a critic friend of mine asked me what I thought about it right after the showing, and I said, I'm surprised I like this, because usually I like pieces that are like soul crushing, or like people die, or there's something really dramatic or classical about it. This one here, I was like, why do I like this piece? Is it because, again, it's maybe because of these common people that they've been on this path for like, they're 50 right now. Yeah. They've been buying into the corporate life, and now they're just abandoned. It's like, what am I going to do with my life? Yeah. And it's like, I just found that so identifiable, and it's just so universal. Again, I'm not sure why I liked it, but I really liked it.
I'm so glad. I mean, we've worked hard on it. I think we've worked hard on it to have a lot of, in some ways, there's a lot of moving parts to the show. The transitions between scenes have to be absolutely expert, split-second, choreographed to the nth degree, and yet the whole thing has to feel very fluid and simple. And it's about the common man, so it can't get dwarfed. You've got to have the humanity in it, and that's also what I love in pieces is where's the humanity? Where's the common humanity that speaks to us all? And I feel like this piece so much has that.
Yeah, maybe it was also a slow burn instead of a crash. It was a slow burn. I think the actors did that also, because when a musician plays bolero, you just can't have any musician do that. You got to have someone slowly burn it. So your actors did a fantastic job.
Thank you. I adore my actors. I'm the luckiest director to have these 4 genius performers who gave of themselves and worked so hard to find their own humanity in it, and yet the humor at the same time. Yeah, and it grows on you, like you said. And it isn't like a pow piece. It's more of a it packs a lot of punch when you think about it, and you're going to go home and you're going to start to put together all their little pieces of it, So.
Yeah. So what do you look for in your casting anyway?
What do I look for in casting? Well, it's a really tricky thing. It's funny. That's a good question. I mean, it really depends on the play and the part. In this case, you had to have actors who have a sense of funny. And by that, a funny bone. But not like sitcom funny, but just a subtle, internal, deep sense of humor, right? That's in there, that's just naturally there. And then the other part about it is that the vulnerability. All these characters, even the Bob and the corporate guy, they're vulnerable, and you have to have this deep sense that they're willing to bare their souls in front of you. So those are 2 big factors I think I was looking for.
Well, I just really enjoyed the play, and I really enjoyed your direction to it. So thank you very much for being on the show.
It's always a pleasure to see you at these things. Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI, 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Laura Mann. Well, we just had our opening night for American Hero here at Pasadena Playhouse. It was a blast. Had such a good time. Really great audience, and we're just so happy to be here.
Great. And which character do you play?
I play Sherry Luntz, who's sort of an awkward misfit who does everything she can as things unfold to try to save the sandwich store. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
It's a really heartfelt, funny play written by Bess Wool. You're going to have a great time. You maybe shed a tear, and we'd love to see you.
A critic friend of mine asked me what I thought about this piece, and I said I enjoyed it, and I'm surprised I enjoyed it, because usually I like pieces that are very soul-crushing, or people die, you know what I mean? Be dramatic. You know? This one, again, it might have something to do with, again, the fact that it's about common people who just say, who just have a miserable time. I mean, their whole life is just miserable, and it's like they just can't get out of it, and you know, it's just so realistic to the common man, too.
Everyone can really relate to that feeling of just being trapped in a job that you really just don't want to be in, and you know, you may have had these aspirations years and years ago that you can't even really remember anymore because you've been stuck for so long, and just what it feels like to be free from that, and the joy of that moment. And yeah, like you said, you know, it does hit really close to home, and there are some dramatic moments, but we're seeing these characters struggle, and it really is a comedy at the end of the day.
Yeah, also my brother's going through something like this. His company just laid him off. He's been working there. He's about ready to retire and all that. And it's kind of like now he's taking my job, so he's working. But he's just saying, I just don't like my job. You know what I mean? It's just, you put all your trust in corporate America or something like that. That's what you're supposed to. You know, you're supposed to be a good American and do that, right?
Right.
A lot of people are really suffering. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of no matter where you are, you know, people at the top, people at the bottom have this like shared humanity. No matter what you're working in, can sometimes be that feeling of discontentment, and is there something else out there, and like what are we really here for, which is that question that's sort of comically repeated throughout the play. But I think Bess is really asking that question on a larger sense as well. And also in this world today, you know, the feeling of kind of being abandoned by corporate, being abandoned by the people that are in charge, and what are we supposed to do, and that helplessness of wanting to act and wanting to help make things better, but really feeling helpless and not knowing how to do that. So that really resonates today, I think, for people.
Yeah, I also loved your acting. You're fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
You're a funny comedic, and I just loved your character. You're just kind of really cute.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, once again, I really enjoyed the performance. I loved your performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI, 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Graham Outerbridge. We had our opening night. It was wonderful, and the audience was amazing, and so excited to be running the show, and love being here in Pasadena.
Great. And which character did you play?
I play Ted. Ted is a man who is he's struggling for meaning at this moment in his life, and I think he's trying to grasp hold of it in a sandwich franchise.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
They should expect to see four people having a really good time on stage and telling a story that probably needs to be told more often.
You know, one of the other critics asked me, you know, what do you think about this show? And I actually told him, usually I don't like shows like this. Usually I like shows that are soul-crushing, dramatic, classical. People die, or they talk about really controversial, bizarre things like cannibalism or something like that. And I said, but I have no idea why I like this piece. It was about common people. It was about, maybe it's because it's these normal people who got abandoned by corporate world. It's like they put their trust in like some institution, and it just totally abandoned them, and they just kind of struggle. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's something incredibly relatable about a piece like this, and for exactly the reasons that you're saying, you know. And it's funny you bring up cannibalism, because they mention that in this play, and it does feel a lot like corporate cannibalism in some ways. And it is refreshing, especially in this day and age right now, to get the other side of it. You know, we have corporations doing really well, and we have everyday normal people who are maybe not doing super well. So it's really I don't know. It's a pleasure to be part of this production.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed the acting. I thought you guys were fantastic. Because again, it wasn't dramatic overacting kind of acting, or dealing with a piece where someone dies. It was actually people who were just talking about, God, I just hate my life.
Yeah.
you guys, you get what I mean? When someone tells you that, you just can't help but feel for them.
Yeah, and I think that's the heart of a piece like this is really not overacting, but just playing the truth of every moment. And there's a lot of truth in a play like this. So yeah.
Once again, I really enjoyed myself, and I really enjoyed your performance. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Anna La Madrid. I'm recently planted to LA. I've been here about 2.5 years. I'm from Venezuela, and I'm a member of IAMA.
Great. And which character did you play?
I play Jamie. Jamie is sorry.
That was for you instead.
That was all for me. Jamie is a single mom trying to get by, and I think to me she represents a lot of the middle America that's kind of dwindling in the United States. So her story is really important to me. My mom was a single mom, and trying to survive while raising 3 kids in a market where the jobs are dwindling is a story that really appealed to me. Yeah.
Great. If my viewers decide to come by and see this, what should they expect to see?
You should expect to see lots of antics, stress, and a journey, a true emotional journey.
Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it. A critic friend of mine actually asked me what I thought about this piece, and I said I really enjoyed it. And I told him I have no idea why, because usually I enjoy things that are soul-crushing or classical, or people who talk about really controversial issues like cannibalism or something like that. Yeah, but basically I really like this piece. I'm not sure why it is. Maybe it's because it's about common people who's just saying, basically life just isn't working out for me. Here I'm like 50 and it's still not working.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? I just identify with things like that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think it's speaking to what's currently happening right now with the political climate and this idea of despair and wanting to change but feeling stuck. And finding hope.
Yeah, also I have to compliment you guys on the acting. I thought it was actually very entertaining. It was funny, and it was actually very moving at times, too.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. We've been working really hard.
Okay. Well, once again, I really enjoyed myself, and I enjoyed your performance.
Thank you
very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great night.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with...
My name is Nick Bonanno. I'm an actor from Malta, small island in the Mediterranean. This is my first production with IAMA Theatre Company. I am understudying for the role of Bob. I'm replacing Rodney Toe for the opening tonight. It was fun, a really wonderful play, a very multi-layered play, in fact, on discovering the American dream. For someone who plays the parts that I played, is facing these kind of hardships, and that's why it's really essential to really shed light onto something like this. It's a fun play. It's a fun comedy. At the same time, it still has a lot of underlying issues that of course are not necessarily in control, I would say, but it's good that we can have fun with something like this. Also, we are artists and actors. We delve into into the unknown, so to speak, into what the world may not truly know what the situation is all about. So thanks to a play, thanks to a script for a movie, thanks to all these things, all these channels of information, give us the tools necessary to tell the story, tell a really, really important story.
Yeah, a critic friend of mine asked me, what do you think about this right after the play? And I said to him, I like the play and I don't know why. It's because usually I like plays that are like, soul crushing, or people die, or it's like you murder your father. I mean, that's the type of plays I like. This play, I don't know why. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that it's just common people who just were just trapped. It's like like in this diaspora where they're just forced to walk forward for like hell. Like pushing a rock up a mountain. That's kind of like what it was like. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that?
I think yes, essentially, I do too. Like those plays, there's something that's underlying a mystery, and there's a little mystery to it. A kick at the end, which obviously I'm not going to spoil, but it really is. I tell you why it's a really remarkable way to watch, because it's 3 people getting together, 3 people with crushed backgrounds, or even 4 people with really just a difficult situation, but this sandwich shop seems to be their salvation. So without it, they have nothing. And that's what makes it so interesting, is like, how long can they hold on to it? How long can they hold on to a sandwich shop? You know, how long can they hold on to something that's not even in their control? It's not even theirs. That the fact that they join up, make it together, and really see, there's a lesson learned. Each of them learn a lesson. You know, they come in with a conceptual idea about something, but then that idea just simply changes, takes a drastic turn, because they go through a period of situations in which they learn from, and that shapes them, and ultimately, you know, it makes them somewhat of a family. We all like family dramas, right? What about a friendship drama that then turns into more of a family environment for them? So yeah, I think, again, it's a nice modern play. It's very difficult to find a very good modern play nowadays. That's my personal opinion, of course. But this really does a nice job to hit all those things. The character, the arcs of the characters, are just all there. They're really all there.
Well, I really enjoyed myself tonight, and I enjoyed your performances also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
American Hero will be playing at the Pasadena Playhouse from September 21st to October 21st. For more information, go to www.iamatheater.com. This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at the Whitefire Theater with the world premiere of Villainy, or H.H. Holmes' Own Story.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Jeff Rack. I'm the director and did the production design also for Villainy.
If my viewers decide to come out and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Well, I mean, it's Halloween, so hopefully you're coming to see something with H.H. Holmes, a serial killer, something a little spooky, a little creepy. It's also, I kind of looked at it like a French farce. You know, I mean, it's this guy's life was madness in more ways than just himself. He had so many things going on and so many women that he was, playing. It's like spinning plates. You know, he's trying to keep these plates spinning, and eventually, you can't keep it all together. But he was interesting because he's a businessman first and foremost. I mean, he wanted to, all of his dealings and even the murders came out of trying to get ahead. So it kind of has some resonance in our world today in a lot of different ways. The whole women being, taken advantage of and abused, and it was kind of that time. That's just the way it happened. I mean, women didn't have much say. They, got married. They were lucky to be married, and and men just, they were like pawns to a lot of these men, especially someone like Holmes. So. I think people come and have it's crazily fun in its own weird way, but definitely has the horror elements and aspects to it too. That all of a sudden it turns and it's like, oh crap, this guy, really is not a good guy. So, I hope people come out and see something that's entertaining and creepy and fun and all those things that you hope to see on a Halloween show. So.
It reminded me of Breaking Bad.
Oh, did it? In what way did it remind you of?
Well, first of all, the character. Again, he started off as a normal guy. Again, right. Intelligent. He was a science teacher or something like that. And slowly he became a criminal. I mean, he had to work at being a criminal, and he did it brick by brick. And then he built this kind of like this life, and it just collapsed on himself. Mm-hmm. And again, it was actually just well done. You experiencing his life and all that. So I really enjoyed the piece.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I kept telling the actors that it's like a Swiss clock. I mean, all the the shifting in time, because it's a memory piece. So he's actually in the cell the whole time, and so he's going back and forth in time to these different places. So that's how I staged it. It shifts, and all of a sudden he's in one location with one woman, and then he's in another location with another woman, and then it just one woman goes behind the thing and he pulls out a different woman. So it's I guess Breaking Bad. I can kind of see that. I mean, the interesting thing about any character study, I think, is how someone goes from being this to being that. It's a gradual thing. It's a gradual dismemberment of morality in this case. That just kind of he gets caught up in it, and he also had problems in his youth and stuff. I mean, this guy was somebody that didn't really have a moral conscience. I don't think. He didn't look at people as people. He looked at them as objects. And that's why he could so easily kill these women and, strip them down and sell their bones, as medical, supplies. So, it's an interesting character to work on and to work with, like with Eric, who's playing Holmes, because it's a complex character. There's nothing simple about this guy. And it's interesting to try and get inside of their psyche, and hopefully, I don't know if it illuminates anything, but it's a cautionary tale of what can happen. You go down the wrong path. So,
I loved your choice in casting. Also, all the characters are fantastic. What do you look for in your casting?
Well, I mean, just people that are good actors and people that I like working with. Most of these people I've worked with before in the past. Eric and I have worked on a number of pieces together for a number of years, and I mean, for Holmes, the whole thing about Holmes is that he has to be. He was a charming guy. I mean, women loved this guy. So he was attractive, charming character. He's not a beast. You know what I mean? So Eric fits the bill. So it's kind of you don't expect. It's like Hitchcock used to say. The murderer could never get near a woman unless he was charming. And Holmes was that. Holmes was that kind of guy. So, I just try and get the best actors that I can, and people that I've worked with that I know can deliver, and people that their attitudes and just that we have fun. That we go in there and we have fun doing it. So, it's a great group, and I'm very happy with everybody.
So I really loved the performance, and I thought you did a fantastic job as a director. Loved the casting. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm with
Tor Brown. I'm an actor. I've been in LA for about 10 years, and I came to this play through the beautiful director, Jeff.
And which character did you play?
I play Mudgett. Mudgett is a driving force in this play. He pulls Holmes through each of the chapters in his life in an attempt to get him to come to terms with the monster that he is.
Mudgett's a star.
Mudgett's the absolute star of this show. He's such an interesting character because he gets to watch his life happen again, but from the outside. And so he gets to see all of the things that he did wrong and learn new lessons that he wasn't able to learn while he was experiencing them.
Was he evil?
Ooh, I don't think so. From the outside, most definitely. As a human being, I think Mudgett felt very, very strongly that he was in the right in all of the things he did. I think he knew there were some things he did that weren't maybe the most just, but everything was motivated and had a purpose.
So he was more pragmatic. He had a scale, like a positive and a negative. Mm-hmm. If it's within the positive side, I will do this. If it's amoral, I mean, let's just set that aside.
Very much a risk versus reward human. If the reward is greater than the risk, he will take it, no matter the outcome, no matter the moral scruples, as it were. If he thinks he's going to gain something from it, if he's going to further his cause, he will march forward with no qualms.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
Oh, goodness. A good, solid, quick, fun hour and a half of crazy, thrilling, sometimes scary, sometimes funny, I would say biography of this flawed human. A very fun night.
One of my favorite shows I've seen in the last decade is actually Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm.
in which I don't know how to describe it. It's basically an anti-hero. He's basically he becomes a murderer. He becomes a drug dealer. And you think this guy would be a terrible person, but you look at him. He was actually just a regular guy, and he just became that because of circumstance.
You look back on choices you make, and you see hindsight being 2020. That maybe you were completely wrong. I love that comparison. I recently watched it a second time, and I saw from the beginning the pieces of him that were in there that were evil and monstrous, but just hadn't been allowed to express themselves until the circumstances changed, and they were. And I think it's very similar here. He started out as Herman Mudgett with Clara and Gilmanton as a normal human, and then circumstances changed, and he allowed them to change and went along for the journey and turned into a decently evil human.
I like that. Decently human. Well, one of my favorite, this is John Stroisek, the writer, so-called, but one of my favorite movies growing up was Clockwork Orange, which is exactly the same kind of character. He's an evil guy, he does terrible things, and you love him. You go with him on the journey, And Holmes is like that. I mean, all the reports about him was he was extremely charming. They thought he had hypnotic powers because he could convince anybody of anything. You could sell, ice cubes to an Eskimo, as the old saying goes. And, he was the ultimate con man, but he was a fantastic actor, which is great. And, all the actors in this show are just amazing. I mean, I think that's in his story, right? I mean, he was acting all the time.
Absolutely. And Eric, who plays Holmes, is phenomenal. There's something about watching a character you hate walk through their lives that we just, as an audience, we find so fascinating, loving to hate someone. Yes. And that's a skill to play that well, to play something that we love to hate, and Eric carries it out incredibly. It's really fun to be up there with him.
Well, like you saw, he goes through a lot of changes. I mean, he goes from, murdering people to having a religious vision that you really believe. But in reality, I think, and this is true, because I try to stay true to what Holmes wrote. So when you see him in the Notebook, usually that's Holmes' words, and there's that sequence where Alice Peitzel is reading these heartbreaking letters that were preserved. Holmes never sent them, and that that contrast I think works really well. But he did become a Catholic, and I do think it was because it was an insurance thing for him, because, I was raised Catholic, and if you say an act of contrition, no matter what you did, you go to heaven. I mean, we used to say to the nuns, well, even Adolf Hitler? Well, yeah, if he met it, So I think Holmes was always scheming. He was an extremely intelligent guy, and, he died at 36. I mean, he did all this stuff. He did his best work very young, I guess you could say,
As a writer, why did you decide to write this piece anyway?
Well, I grew up around Chicago, and he was kind of well known. I mean, the World's Fair, there's still remnants of that. There's the Field Museum, which was actually the art building for the fair. It was the only one left standing because it had to be made of stone, for insurance purposes. So he was always kind of in the background, and, I read a lot of books about him, and, he was just a fascinating character. And the reason about the play is I was reading a quote by Robert Bloch, the author of Psycho, and he wrote a thing about Holmes for Reader's Digest, of all things. And he has a line in there saying, one imagines him scurrying down to the cellar to dissect a corpse, going up a secret passageway into a bedroom to meet his latest conquest. And he says, the comings and goings, the slamming and shutting of doors, reminds one of a French farce. So it's true. It's very theatrical, and you can see, and especially how, Jeff Rack, the director, stages it. He calls it like a Swiss clock. And that's what it's meant to be, So, and my background is, screenwriting, but from day one, I've always wanted to write plays. I mean, when I was 17, I saw Endgame, and it just knocked me out. But, so this is kind of a dream come true for me, and all these incredibly talented people are making it happen. I really appreciate it. So,
Well, I really enjoyed the piece. Basically, it was perfect for Halloween.
Yes.
And again, like I said before, because I love Breaking Bad, that's the type of story it was like. You were watching a guy from beginning to end, watching his life, watching him degrade, watching him turn into an amoral monster, and basically going through the ride. Once again, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Villainy, or H.H. Holmes' own story, will be playing at the Whitefire Theater from October 3rd to November 7th. For more information, go to www.villainy.brownpapertickets.com.